I would like to also go on to the next session, which will be chaired by Pukarat Chaudhary from Engagement Global. Can we have the title slide on? Yeah, there's Pukarat Chaudhary. So Pukarat is Indian by birth. He lives in Germany, he works in Germany, and he is currently the project leader of the ESD leadership program working with Engagement Global, which I just introduced this morning. And he's also a member of the ESD ExpertNet. He brings with him, a very diverse expertise in various different fields. And I was really surprised, ranging from media to advocacy. But I think what's relevant for us here today is that is his expertise in sustainability education, in blended learning, and in education for sustainable development through the leadership program. So with this, I would like to hand it over to Pukraj. Pukraj, it's yours.
Thank you, Shamita. Um, I'm trying to start my video, but we can just I could just talk. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a very engaging conversation for me. I've been a part of the mentoring team since the beginning of the mentoring program, which has been about 4 years now. We're also joined by my colleague Frauke, who also coordinates the program and the implementation of it. Yes. So as you mentioned, it's important maybe for people who are tuned in now to know what the mentoring program is about. As we realized through the conversations and the presentations just now that it actually boils down to the ground level action, and the ExpertNet members thought it was important to kind of bring sustainability to individuals and develop their leadership skills to take those initiatives forward at the ground level. So mentoring program is one of its kind program which exists in this form. It's a blended learning program, one-to-one mentoring with EST leadership components in it. Currently, we have about 20 mentees, 5 from each country, who are being mentored by an expert from their own country, and also being provided with support where as and where needed by the international network of experts that we have. So the Mentee Requirements at the beginning of the program, it's a proper we have a selection process, interview, followed by a matching process where we match the requirements of the mentees with the expertise of the mentors, and accordingly match the duos. Currently, we have the average age of the participants in the current run is about 29 years, but usually we have people in the range of 25 to 35 years who apply for the program. And through the course of the program, which ranges from 10 to 12 months, the mentors work together with mentees. They arrive at a joint agreement at the beginning of the program as to where the mentees would like to be, what the learning journey would look like. So a mentor here isn't necessarily a coach. There is the hierarchy is very flat here. So the mentor it could be seen as a facilitator, someone who is translating theory into practice or complex frameworks, paving the path to the larger picture, provides insights. A mentor could also be seen as a supporter who discerns the strengths of the mentees, shares ideas from the experience. As you saw in the very first panel that we had with the experts, we had about over a century of experience talking to you about sustainability put together. So it's also the experience of the mentors which flows into the program and kind of shapes or takes the form of guidance and inputs into project planning. And I forgot to mention, the mentees are continuously working on their project. They are institutionally represented. They are working for an institution. They could also be freelancers, and they work on a project idea. they work on a project implementation throughout the course of the program and kind of try to make it more inclusive, collaborative with the help of their mentors who are kind of advisors and put them in contact with the right people. They also play the role of a critical friend, but providing critical and constructive feedback is also kind of accompanied by assurance throughout. So that's the mentoring program. I'll put up the name of the put up the URL in the chat function, in the Q&A function, so that you can read more about the program. And yes, I look forward to the presentations of the mentor-mentee duos. And last but not the least, it's an enriching process for both. It's not just that the information flow is only one-sided. It isn't that. It's also that mentors who have been part of this program were previously also in a different capacity, kind of mentees in a leadership program or participants. So and they have kind of turned into leaders. They hold key positions, decision-making positions in institutions that they represent. So and they are giving it back, or they are rather kind of mentoring the next generation of leaders, and invoking that agency that we have all been talking about. So yes, we have now the presentation of the mentor-mentee duos, and afterwards maybe there'll be time to address some questions. And the URL for the mentoring program and more information about it would be posted in the chat function. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pukarat. I think we now go into a recorded session. So you could see the mentor-mentees and the projects that they are working on. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to introduce Girish, whom I have had the opportunity to know and learn with over the last 1 year during the duration of the ESD Leadership Program. Girish works with Terry Bangalore and brings with him an experience of over a decade working with diverse projects ranging from applied research to environmental governance to education for sustainable development. Girish has a vast experience of working with schools across the country, engaging students and teachers in environmental action, initiatives related to climate change mitigation, water sanitation and hygiene, solid waste management, documenting biodiversity knowledge, as well as the very famous Green Hackathon. Girish's ESD Leadership Project, it involves designing pathways to integrate indigenous knowledge into school classroom learning. Indigenous knowledge, knowledge that's held by a community's traditional, technological, social, economic, philosophical learnings grounded in skills, in practices and spirituality, touching diverse areas such as farming, food, clothing, medicines, and so many other fields, very rarely finds a mention in school curriculum and textbooks. This impacts the way learners relate their classroom learnings to their social and cultural environment. We all agree that indigenous knowledge is key to achieving sustainable development. And Girish's project exactly attempts to do that. So over to you, Girish.
Hi, I'm Girish. Today, what we consume, how much we consume, and the manner in which we consume is directly related to our capacity to exploit the resources for our needs. While I say this, it reminds me a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, which says, "Earth is enough for every man's need, but not for every man's greed." Today, most of us have consumerist lifestyle with fast food, fast fashion, and indiscriminate anthropogenic activities. Even the traditional practices, which are sustainable and which are simple, have been traded for material glory. Yes, food and clothing are basic amenities and also form a major part of our lifestyle. But as said by famous poet Rumi, uh, anything more than what is necessity is a poison. This is not about being humble, it's about understanding our necessities. Today, we are in this juncture of consumerist life. My project intends to initiate young minds to sustainable lifestyle practices, focusing on eco-friendly clothing and healthy eating choices among younger generations. Project would be implemented by taking students back to the younger days of their parents. Firstly, to appreciate the amenities they have in compared to their parents, and to understand the necessities, observe the necessities, and eliminate indiscriminate consumption by oneself. India is a country of rich heritage with tons of sustainable practices. I intend to engage or encourage students to delve deeper into the traditional knowledge, their own traditional knowledge and practices, and build competencies to implement these knowledge into present day lifestyle. The project would go by through knowledge workshop, providing inputs, hands-on activities with activity sheets, facilitating a dialogue between students, parents and grandparents to draw upon the traditional knowledge and revisit to the present lifestyle and their choices in a bit to groom them as a future citizens of sustainable world.
Hello all, hi, I'm Saransh and I'm here to introduce my very bright, eager and committed mentee, Shraddha Shigwa. She has a background in biotechnology, has also studied environmental sciences and technology. She is interested in women and leadership and also in waste management and is currently working with Bivir Pune, where she is working on the School for Environment Education program. Her project, her ESD project, innovation project, deals with embedding EE, environment education, and ESD linked practices, SDGs, into the school curriculum. Where is she working? She is working with schools in the Sangli area and the Western Ghats area of Maharashtra. For more, well, over to Shraddha.
Thank you, Saransh, for introducing me. Hi, I'm Shraddha. Sustainable development goals are the backbone of our country's journey from developing to develop. It involves changes in people's ideas, values, knowledge, and actions. SDG 4 Quality Education overarches with remaining 16 goals, and 4.7 focuses on building capacities and competencies through ESD. Textbooks are primary teaching aids from which students obtain knowledge. Knowledge about ecology and environment constitutes a basic tool for promoting a sustainable future. Education and awareness of the environment go beyond an understanding of floral and faunal taxonomy. It especially includes learning about processes that are linked to nature and human life and livelihood. It also includes moral and ethical values. School students are innately able to empathize with their surrounding environment. Catching them young has always been considered the efficient way to bring about societal change. As National Education Policy 2020 mentioned about multidisciplinary education, it is the right time to integrate environment education and sustainable development into the curriculum. By implementing experiential observational learnings and innovative pedagogical approaches into the curriculum and formal teaching methodologies, hence transitioning it into an informal and whole school approach, gradually brings about competencies and skills among the students. This helps in sensitizing and empathizing students towards the environment, but also develop skills to create pro-conservative action. Objectives of my project are content analysis of the current status of geography, science, and language textbooks, designing curriculum based environment education activities, and the target group for the same are students of class 7 and school teachers. An online tool called Nearpod was used for connecting students to the environment education. It's an activity based learning app which allows us to upload videos, presentations, images, and also conduct quiz, activities, and collaborative boards. Due to pandemic, all schools were shut. We could not have face-to-face interaction with students, so we had to shift to online mode. But the online mode had its own challenges as most of the students belong to the lower income group. Some of the students belong to the tribal communities and marginal farmer families, hence could not afford to have Android phones or for that matter no phones. Maximum of the schools that we take the training are located in remote places. Thus, mobile network and internet connectivity is questionable, which leads to low to no student participation. To overcome these challenges, conventional method was also used with digital one. Posters and booklet of SDG 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 6, Water and Sanitation, SDG 13, Climate Action were designed with set of different activities that students could do sitting at home. These booklets were distributed to students. A 2-day teacher training workshop was organized for teachers to build capacity in biodiversity and sustainable development with nature trail, collaborative activities, and informative lectures. In the implementation phase, I learned that it is necessary to keep on identifying the gaps in the methodology. I learned new digital skills as it is the only way to connect with schools and teachers. Since the attention span over screen is low, I had to find creative ways to keep students engaged over our digital modules. I would like to thank Engagement Global, ESD ExpertNet and BVIR for giving me this opportunity to turning myself into ESD leader. Thank you.
Hello, I'm happy to introduce to you Praveen Alamseti from the coastal state of Andhra Pradesh in southern India. Praveen is a postgraduate in education from one of the premier institutes of the National Council of Educational Research and Training of the Government of India. Praveen earlier worked as a science communicator in the Science Express, which is a train with an interactive exhibition inside the train coaches on the themes of biodiversity and climate change, which CE developed and which traveled across India to run activities at railway stations using the train exhibits. And Praveen has also developed earlier digital content for science for students of grades 8 and 9 and conducted teacher training for use of these modules in government schools. So ladies and gentlemen, here is Praveen.
First of all, I would like to thank for giving this opportunity and thanks to Sanskriti for the introduction. Hi all, Namaste. Hope you all doing good in this crucial time. We all have seen how local governance is more important in this lockdown. My idea of sustainability is to be as local as possible. I believe that SDG 4 education or ESD is the most important one because without educating or making people aware, all other goals cannot be achieved. I got to know about the Mentoring for ESD Leadership program because of my previous association with Center for Environment Education, that is CEE, which is located at Ahmedabad. I am lucky to get my mentor, Sanskriti Menon, who is also from the same organization. I am in this mentoring program to learn about the project development and to get international exposure on education for sustainable development. I also wanted to collaborate and work with people with similar ideas. My project in this program is bringing indigenous knowledge to teacher education for sustainable development. The project is prepared with a larger goal to integrate indigenous knowledge into teacher education. Through discussions with the mentors like Sanskriti and Satish, my work is now focused on the methods and processes involved in transmission of indigenous knowledge from one generation to another. In teacher education programs like Diploma in Elementary Education and Bachelor's in Education, student teachers get a chance to interact with the local communities. They get to learn about the societal background, the existing community knowledge, and the societal goals or expectations from the formal education system. This ground level understanding of the communities help the student teachers to inculcate their learnings into their teaching methods, which in turn help the students in the schools to learn in a better way, which is more local and more indigenous. The mentoring has helped me to articulate the objectives of my project clearly and plan the steps that I can take in time frame available, which can be evaluated. It helped me in moving the project forward. I have identified key stakeholders and actors, funding and support agencies, shortlisted resources, planned activities, etc. In the next few weeks, I plan to interact with NGOs working with the indigenous communities and also with the faculty of DIETs and CTEs to contextualize the indigenous knowledge into teacher education. The blended learning program is well designed and enables us to follow the course anywhere and at any time. Most valuable is the opportunity to meet, learn, and work with highly committed, talented people from other countries who are part of the program along with me. Through them, my understanding has broadened and I have gained knowledge about the ground situation in other places in the world. Together with my colleagues in the program, it is great to be part of the network of people working for the similar cause in many different ways. Thank you all and see you again.
We have just experienced one of the hottest year on record for our planet Earth. 2020 was the second hottest year, just behind 2016. And that's just not all. Impacts of climate change are felt all over the world, be it extreme weathers, floods, droughts, forest fires, impacting our food, water, health, and whatnot. And scientists say if we do not act and cut our emission by half by 2030 and go carbon neutral by 2050, there is no way to reverse the impact of climate change. In very simple words, if we do not act now, we are doomed. But the good news is we have solutions now. But what is needed is collective actions. Actions from businesses, from countries, from communities, and from individuals. It needs change in our and upcoming generation attitudes, shift in behaviors, and our decision thinking.
Hello, Sheetal is a working professional based out of Delhi, and her project deals with teacher capacity building in area of climate change education by way of developing short workshop modules for teachers from Western Maharashtra. It is important that teachers are able to link climate change learnings to the former curricula they are teaching in the schools. And it becomes much more meaningful to design any climate action program based on such a contextualized understanding of science, causes and impact of climate change, and design climate action programs at various levels, looking at our own individual actions or looking at our families, neighborhood communities and also schools. So besides subject competencies in areas of language, science, mathematics, it becomes crucial to develop ESD competencies such as developing anticipatory skills, looking at the things at a systemic level, and developing cooperation and problem solving skills. Teacher orientation and capacity building and access to quality learning resources is an important enabler for school community to successfully implement climate education and action programs, and Sheetal's project aims at exactly doing that, and I wish her all the best in her endeavor.
My project is Workshop for Teachers on Climate Change. My country is developing, home to 1.38 billion people, and highly vulnerable to climate change impact. So how do we reach to these people in a very short time we have? Therefore, I have decided to work with teachers. Teachers, as they are trusted messenger in the society and will have multiplier effect in reaching out and educating young students, so that when these young students they step out, they are responsible consumer, active and aware citizens, and have competencies required for 21st century challenges. Therefore, through these teachers' workshop, my project aims to empower teachers with the knowledge of basics of science, impacts, and solutions of climate change, and further enabling them to take this message to their young students by providing various tools and resources to the teachers. This is a part of ongoing teachers training program at Climate Reality India, where we have already trained over 7,000 teachers. I thank to Engagement Global for providing us ESD framework, concept, tools, and this amazing tool of mentors. I have learned that learning for ESD is a continuous process. Therefore, I will be evolving these awareness workshops for teachers with time, fuse various ESD concepts, and continue to keep the learner at the center of these climate change workshops, because climate change is a global crisis, but its impacts felt are very local and personal. You can learn about my project by reaching out to me at sheetal.until.in@climatereality.com. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, welcome to the India Outreach event. I'm very pleased to introduce the initiative of Sachin Punekar. Sachin is working on a project that aims at promoting sustainable development through skill-based education in schools in Pune. His project focuses on essentially three elements of sustainability: energy, water, and waste. He is also using action-based learning approach to work with the students and the teachers. A large focus of Sachin's work is on building necessary skills amongst students. And the past few months, he's been interacting with the schools, with the teachers, to really understand, what kind of an intervention would be most useful for them. So let's listen in to what he has to say on how his journey has been so far.
Namaskar. Thank you, Supriya ma'am, for a brief introduction. I'm Sachin Punekar from India. I'm a management postgraduate working in the field of education and skill training from last 10 years. In India, parents have started understanding the fertility of rote learning and book-centered education. Even the administrators and policymakers are struggling to find the alternatives for current education system, which gives emphasis on rote learning and kills creativity of the child. Therefore, my vision is to promote sustainable development through skill-based education by using work-centered education, design thinking, STEM education approach, and socially useful productive work as a teaching methods in the education system, which gives exposure to the students to real life by giving hands-on activity experience, which connects school curriculum to the real life. For example, diseases caused through bad quality drinking water, and the solution could be the water testing and treatment. Like drinking water testing, I have selected 3 more activities. The second one is like making vermicompost using wet waste generated in the school and at the home. The next activity is on solar energy, wherein I'm going to teach students to make solar dryers to dry vegetables and other items, at the same time to generate electricity and find its innovative application. So in this activity, I'm going to teach students how to make solar mobile charger. And the last activity is about like sharing their experiences with other school network in Maharashtra through virtual platform. I'm implementing this project across 12 schools nearby Pune. Schools are mainly located into the rural part of the Pune district, and the students are selected from 8th, 9th and 10th standard. While implementing these activities, one of the school have used solar dryer to dry the tulsi leaves. And when they went through the activity, at the end when I asked them to calculate the cost and what is the market price and calculate the profit, they were surprised to know that the price of 1 kg tulsi powder is 4,000 rupees, which earlier the leaves were getting wasted. And these are just 4 activities. Likewise, many activities can be linked to the curriculum and can be conducted within the school. For that, I think not only the government, the local school management committee should also take initiative to establish the maker labs, which includes the basic tools from workshop, agriculture, electrical, electronics and food processing, which will enable teachers and the student to perform and go through such socially useful productive activities and not just a theory lectures within the class. This will connect school curriculum to the real life and will make education more meaningful. Also, this initiative ultimately going to benefit in nation building by imparting knowledge and skills to young generation, which leads for sustainable development. Dhanyawad.
Raj, would you like to say a few words about the alumni?
Sure. Thank you so much. Yes, for the presentations. In case if you have any questions related to the presentations you just saw or the projects which were just now introduced, please feel free to write that or address your questions in the Q&A function of this presentation. And now we will hear a bit from our alumni and just a few words about them. Like all the others, they're also representing a range of institutions worldwide. And we will hear from a number of our alumni from the last batches of the last 2 batches, because currently we are in the 3rd phase of the implementation of the mentoring program. So yes, I think they will be introduced by their names and the institutions in the videos. So yes, we can play the video now.
Hi everyone, my name is Deepika. I'm from the 2019 batch of the Esd Mentorship program. And we were mentored on 3 aspects. One was when we were paired with our subject matter experts. One was with project management. And the last one was on internal competencies and project management. So today I'd like to discuss with you 3 outcomes of my mentorship program there. One was the program that I was actually mentored for during the duration. And 2 of them that have emerged as products of my interactions with my colleagues and mentorship process. So I work at the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and the project that I was mentored for, as you can see on the screen, is ESD for B School teachers. So we had created a course called Strategy and the Sustainable Enterprise for Teachers, which was a blended learning project. And the basic idea of this was to create a community of practice of teachers, who are passionate about teaching sustainability, who wish to teach sustainability in their universities, and who also wish to contribute to research in the field. This was focused on faculty who teach in business schools because the relevance of sustainability in the business space is very high. And, it's important for future managers and entrepreneurs to be sensitive towards the environment and social inclusion aspects as well of, business management. It was a 14-week program, and I was able to develop the project till we were able to develop a redesign along with some very interesting elements. So, and I'm happy to share more with you if you're interested. The next project that I'd like to talk about is a collaboration with one of my colleagues from South Africa, Etienne. So he works with outdoor education, and I happened to have a discussion with him, and we decided that it would be nice for us to work on a case on his work. So he works with school children who grow up in an area which is at risk of violence. So the case is about understanding what outdoor education can do to children, from who in terms of their perception of space, how can they experience their childhood in terms of their career aspirations, in terms of their personal aspirations, and how they perceive themselves. So we're working on a case to see how we can understand that. We're also we're also developing an M&E intervention for that, a monitoring and evaluation intervention. And here is a small snapshot of that survey. The last project that I'd like to talk to you about is something that I had developed for my team. This was on creating learning landscapes. So I work in the digital learning department as a research associate. So most of my colleagues, all of us are involved with creating education. So how do we learn, and how do we understand, how do we empathize with learners, how do we know where they are and what they want? This is something that all of you also, as members of the education space, these questions you might be exploring. The objective of this workshop was to identify how and where learning occurs, and how do we evaluate our own learning journeys, how do we set goals, and how do we perceive our skills even if they are from seemingly ordinary events. And some of the questions that I left the workshop participants with was, what do we want a learner to experience in the landscape that we create, as well as what are the competencies can we embed through our design. So yeah, these are the 3 projects, and I'm happy to discuss more with any of you. If you have any questions, if you're interested in these areas, do stay in touch with me and do stay safe. Thank you and have a good day.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Asha and I'm one of the mentees from the 2019 batch of the Mentorship for the ESD program, and I've been working with the government of Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand in the revision and implementation of the State Action Plan on Climate Change. During the ESD Leadership Mentorship program, I was able to learn about the various ESD approaches and the various competencies under the ESD framework. There were also the components of project management and leadership under the mentorship program, which supported me in the implementation of my project, which was focused on climate sensitive education module for the school teachers training in Chhattisgarh. From the various interactive sessions that we had during this program, I was able to get some really interesting and valuable inputs from my fellow mentees and mentors, and the result of which is that we have initiated the second phase of the project, that is the revision of the curriculum, that is to integrate climate change education in the school curriculum in the government schools of Chhattisgarh. Currently, I am a part of the social protection project by UNDP with a focus on integrating and enhancing the coverage of social protection schemes for the migrant laborers who have returned during the COVID-19 lockdown. And this is a very short-term project, and as we all know that it's a pandemic situation. So the learning from ESD supported me in planning for this project, and also currently we are in the implementation phase of this project, which is a very short-term project. So it is all possible from the learnings that came hands-on during the implementation of this project in this pandemic. This pandemic situation has taught us that we are still not prepared for the worst case scenario, and after today's session I hope to see many of the participants come up with some really interesting ideas on ESD, and if we can all work together on some of the of these ideas, collaborate and on some of the pressing issues which we can tackle through the medium of ESD. With those hopes and wishes, I would like to convey my wishes to all of you for a great year ahead. Thank you.
Hello, I am Purnima Agarkar and I am working as a sustainability researcher with Samachit Envirotech, Lair Research Center, and I am a member of the Indian Network of Ethics and Climate Change. So my work basically deals with researching, documenting and disseminating this information to the general public. In 2017, I got this opportunity to join the Education for Sustainable Development mentoring program. under the leadership of Dr. Shamita Kumar. She is the principal of Bharati Vidyapit and my mentor, and guidance from Iraj Barucha. He is also the director and an ESD expert member. So I'm really glad to be part of this blended program where I got an opportunity to meet with various people from Africa, from Germany, Mexico, and a lot of Indians whom I would have not met otherwise. So the key takeaways from the program involved developing a systems thinking approach. This has actually strengthened my way of looking at things. The second most important thing that I learned is connecting and collaborating with people. So we are anyways in this field where we need to talk to people, form coalitions, connect with them, and basically act as a connector. So this the program enhanced my skill, which I think is one of the most important to work towards a common goal. And lastly, communicating effectively. I think this is one of the most essential skills that all of us in this field need to develop. How to interact differently with different target groups and put forward our point. I really thank ESD and all the members of ESD for their support. And lastly, I would like to thank Dr. Priyadarshini Karve for believing in me, trusting me, and allowing me to experiment. Thank you.
Hello ESD ExpertNet members and esteemed guests. I'm Teesta from the first batch, and I would like to begin by thanking you for the opportunity to speak to all of you today. When I start thinking about the program, the first thing that comes to my mind is how it has transformed me personally and professionally. While I was acquainted with concepts like climate change, quality education, I think the many discourses around poverty, inequality, etc., to be able to understand them from a very global perspective, yet try and bring local solutions, how local solutions are emerging from the global goals is one of my primary takeaways from the program. The program was a very unique blend of an academic discourse and also practical homeworks and group discussions and lots of other team working assignments where we could all bring forth our experiences, our understanding, and what we actually intended to do with what we were learning. So it had an academic side to it. It also had a professional side to it, and it blended really well. The second thing that has been my key takeaway is the international network of youth, of students, of professionals who are all doing very dynamic work in climate change and environmental advocacy, in conservation and sustainable fashion, and so on and so forth. The network is rich not in terms of what their educational achievements have been, but the alumni brings with it a lot of passion, a lot of interest, a lot of excitement to make change happen. And despite COVID and regardless of how busy everyone has been, we've managed to be in touch with each other, know about what everyone else is doing, and it's kind of developed and built over a period of time, which I'm very grateful for. Where Engagement Global is concerned, the way they blended the program with the right kind of content around the UN SDGs, planetary boundaries, about different kinds of stories with the goals that help you understand the complicated nuances of the UN SDGs is also very fantastic. The ExpertNet has professionals and academicians and experts from all over the world, primarily from the 4 countries, and interacting with them was also an extremely big high altogether. So I would like to thank the entire network for the amazing opportunity, for the mentorship opportunity, and for always supporting us with growing and evolving in conjunction with the UN SDGs. And I wish all the subsequent batches a lot of fun-filled learning with the network. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deepika, Asha, Purnima, and Teesta for your inputs here. It's very interesting to see how these projects have evolved over the last 2 years, and as you can see, it is also important to look at how they have moved beyond or they have developed and evolved further without this active facilitation on our part as the coordinating agency. And that's the idea of such programs. We would like to facilitate this exchange, the collaboration, and the collaboration between within the country groups and the international groups within the international groups does not end with the program. It continues beyond the program. And many of the experts who have joined us today from the Indian network, they've been part of this network for over 10 years. So that goes on to show the power of collaboration. And as Shamita rightly pointed out, it's important that we do not talk or work in isolation. And it is exactly programs and forums like these which provide us with the opportunity to present our work, which could be helpful for the others. And yes, so perhaps if there are any questions, we are running behind the schedule, but maybe we could address one or two questions. You could either use the chat function, the question and answer field here to post your questions, just so that you all know. Sanskriti Menon, our expert from CEE, she has posted some links to some resources. So please do have a look at them, because there was a question about if there are any specific country-specific resources which you could look into. So please have a look at the links that have been posted under the answers here. If there are any questions, you may post them. Otherwise, I would ask Shamita if perhaps we could have a question or
For the
two.
questions, people can also raise your hands. And if you raise your hands, I think the IT team can unmute you. So in case you don't want to type a question, please raise your hands and we can also take that question. So if there are any quick questions related to the leadership program, we can take them, or else we do have a question and answer session at the end, and we could take it then. Okay. I don't see anything.
Shamita, can you hear me? Just a small comment for Pukarat. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Pukarat, I think what your alumni is doing is so good. What I would like to see is whether what they did through the ESD network program still continues with them in their next few years. And is there some way in which for upscaling what they did, which they did so well, how can we really support them? And what do they want from us? And I think perhaps, Pukarat, you could look at this. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Bharucha. That's a very important point that you brought in. What we have tried, perhaps partially addressing what you, the question that you have posed now, is by just so that the next generation so that there is a next generation of potential mentees. We have, like it happened with the leadership program, we have also brought in some country networks, the expertise and the reach of mentees by offering them the opportunity to mentor themselves. And that has kind of resulted in furthering the reach of the country networks, for example, in South Africa, Germany, Mexico. But with regards to the upscaling question locally, as we see and that is the only question that I had. This is something we have to think of, how we could upscale the projects that are being carried out. But like Dr. Chong Shimre mentioned, that with regards to the national education policy, that they are in lookout for resources which can be used. And we realize just we are about 100 odd people here, and we realize that within these 100 people, we have a number of resources which could be used, which might be in circulation in isolated networks or in projects. And I think this dialogue that we have has to continue to be able to identify the resources which exist already. We don't have to invent the wheel again. And we see that training of trainers has come a long way. It has been revised. And given the present challenges, we can obviously adapt it to reach a larger base. The disruption, the pandemic has kind of forced us to look at different ways to engage. And the current batch of mentees and what we are doing currently, I mean, we would usually meet in a face-to-face setting for an event such as this, but it has forced us in a positive way to look at or explore other avenues. And I think your question is very relevant given the situation that we are in. We should really use this situation to further the reach of the products that we have within the network. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Barocha. I see there is some activity under the question and answers field.
So yeah, if you can read it.
I see a question from Deepika June, one of our experts. Hi, Shamita. My question is, what has been the motivating factor for the mentees to apply for this kind of a blended learning program? What are these young professionals looking for in the program? And perhaps I could read the next question. I wanted to know the details from Latha of the next training, the trainer program. I'm a teacher working with a school in Wayanad, Kerala. Is there an age bar? And then there's another question which says, I'm a master's graduate in ecology and environmental studies, and I'm researching on nature-based education, looking at the aspect of ecology identity. I wanted to pursue it further and need help and guidance on this learning model. So perhaps if any one of our panelists would like to respond to that question, starting with Deepika's question and then about the training and the nature-based education question.
All of the panelists have the right, I mean, you can unmute yourselves and, just speak. So any of the mentors or the mentees, you're free to answer the question. Or maybe the mentees can.
Anyone from the... Okay, Sheetal is typing the answer to the question that Deepika posed about the motivation, what the young professionals are looking for in a program such as this. With regards to the trainer program, training the trainer program, perhaps would you like to respond to that in written, being as the Indian network, Shamita, perhaps?
Yeah, I thought that the first question is something that, the mentees could answer. What was your motivation what are the young professionals looking for the program? Because I think that is what they should really answer. But for the two other questions, which is the master's student who's wanting to do nature-based education, all that I can say is that we are a network that spans 4 countries. And at the end of today's session, we will be sharing the contact details. So that enables you to get in touch with any one of us. And that's what we really encourage and want. So that we could help you in answering or learn with you in answering your own question. As far as the next training the trainer program is, that now that we have your registration details, we could definitely get in touch with you for our next program. And for the mentorship program, which you saw the young people speaking about, I think the age bar is about Pukarat 35 or 40. But for the training, the trainer program, there isn't really a age bar. So you could, be there, participate. And as you will see in the next session as well, we have a lot of materials for teachers, and constantly organizations who are part of the network are also involved with workshops. So I think this is something that you could also be involved with, and we'd be happy to involve you as well. I would once again request any of the mentees to answer the question as to what is your motivation, for joining a program like this. Anybody of the mentees who are there on the panel?
Hello, Shamita ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, I just raised the hand. So for me, the motivation was to know that I'm going to meet people from different countries. So I never met anybody outside India as such. I did meet for professional work, but not really regarding sustainability and people who are working in this field. So when I got to know about it, it was really I was really excited to meet them and know what they are doing in their region, and get new ideas which we can implement at our level. So for me, that was one of the motivation.
Yeah, I can also see Supriya's hand up. Supriya Singh was also a mentee in the program, although she's a mentor now. Supriya, would you like to go?
I think I'll let Sheetal speak on the motivation part. I was just going to add more from, why we designed this program in the first place 4 years ago, and why did I apply to the leadership training program 10 years ago. So, but I think, it's apt for Sheetal to actually go first. Yeah.
All right, Sheetal, it's you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. As Purnima mentioned, of course, the network support is number one thing, that of course we want to meet other people who are working in the same field. And then again, being a young professional, we, or at least I can speak for myself, that we look for opportunities to continuously enhance our skills, or what are the latest ESD frameworks which are playing internationally, so that I can adapt it like more nationally or in my project. So this whole program, I mean, I really like the how the whole program is designed, that right from the very basic things, we have got these amazing tools, technique, ESD framework, which we were exposed few months back. So I mean, it really have helped me in being more in my professional development. So of course the network support and professional development is one of the biggest motivation.
Supriya, would you like to?
Yeah, so I'm actually triple hatting. So I was part of the leadership training program 10 years ago. So I was in a way a mentee 10 years ago. Then I was part of the core team with actually Deepika and others who, and also of course Engagement Global, where we designed this program. And then a mentor for the last 3 years. I think when we designed, or when we were thinking of this program, there was this intense desire to, create something where young professionals could actually come together and experience what we experienced 10 years ago in our leadership journey, which was intercultural learning, which was expanding our horizon by meeting people from different countries, and by really experiencing life in totality. There was, of course, learning involved, but it was also about creating a community. It was about creating a collective of people who could, who were already, in the field of sustainability, but who needed just this, sort of extra push, needed that extra space to come into their own and do great things. And some of the ex-mentees who spoke today, well, it feels very good to see you guys, doing what you're doing. So it is really about building a collective, or building a community, building a space where we can try out things, collaborate, and really go beyond the ordinary and test new things. So I think there were many motivations to start this program. I'm just listing a few here.
Thank you very much, Supriya. I don't think that there are any other questions related to this. So I would like to thank all the people on the panel, Pukarat, and all the mentors and the mentees, for the effort in recording the sessions and capturing the experiences, and our former mentees and alumni as well. As you can see, it's been a very engaging session, a lot of energy, which is there, and which I think what is needed really for moving the country forward towards achieving the sustainable development goals. This particular webinar is called as Ideas for Action and Taking the Leap. So I'm sure that from this, we have a lot of ideas that we can use for taking the leap to achieving our sustainable development goals. So thank you, everybody.